Item 4.4. So, who would like to speak to this resolution?
Madam Chair. Thank you very much. As the four of us proposed this motion, I'm going to speak to it regarding the moving the Taupo District Council revokes all resolution number TDC 2016-12/01 on 30th December in relation to vehicles accessing the Kinloch Lakefront Reserve, which is set out below. Do I need to read that out, or just as taken as read?
Do we have a copy?
It's in front of you.
In front of you.
Okay.
Or perhaps for the benefit of the members of the public, I should read it out.
Probably, thank you.
The council, well, I think as 4.4 notice motion actually recommends that we concentrate on revokes parts 2 and 3, which agrees to close, the resolution was agrees to close the reserve to vehicles once additional parking has been created. And point 3, agrees to make the consequential changes to the reserve management plan to reflect the closure of the reserve to vehicles. I'm just going to give the background to the notice of motion. I'm just going to read it on page 46. I'll just read it out if I'm allowed to. Read it out. Okay. This request is consistent with the current reserve management plan and reflects the majority of views and preferences received by council from submitters across 2 rounds of significant consultation. Sorry about that. I know how to turn it off. Establishing barriers to protect the populace is consistent with the district plan. A proposal to replacement resolution is a reasonable and practical option for council to undertake. The decision made in council on the 30th of December requires amendments to the reserve management plan. The paper presented to council on the 30th of December did not identify what these consequential amendments are likely to be and is therefore inconsistent with council being able to make a fully informed decision on the closure. Given the significant consultation already undertaken and public support for the reserve not to be closed, we believe the decision to close should not have been made without further understanding of these amendments. The council is also not currently in a position to be able to comment on what the impact will be for residents, nor identify adequately safety concerns relating to changes to parking and vehicular movements as a result of this closure of the reserve. This makes the resolution of the 30th of December inconsistent with the elected officials' obligations under the Health and Safety Act as a PCBU. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak in favour of the resolution? Do we have anyone who wishes to speak against the resolution? So we'll put the motion to the meeting.
Just through the chair, just for a point of clarity, probably Mr. Green, just in with the resolution that was passed on the 13th of December, it was for the officers were instructed to go away and provide all for the additional parking and whatnot. That would have to go away and come back with costings and everything else. So I'm just wondering, is this sort of cart before horse? Do we not have to wait for that work to come back before we can go on? Because with part of this being about elected officials' obligations under the Health and Safety Act, that was indeed one of the main reasons behind the closure being appropriate.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's totally over to you as elected members. So you're right, the resolution that you passed asked us to bring that information back to you. That's not prepared already yet. If this resolution is to pass as it currently has been moved and seconded, then we wouldn't need to do that work. That would be the end of the matter. You then, as councillors, would need to decide what do you then replace that with, because otherwise you leave me in a bit of a void. And so I'd then be looking at you as a council as to what do you then want to get me to do for the future of the reserve.
So just through the chair, so based on this notice of motion right now, in its entirety. If it were to pass, it would mean that the issue is revisited in its entirety. Is that because if we knock out that resolution, it would go to status quo? Is that correct?
That's right. So if this passes as proposed and seconded, then that resolution dated 13th of December disappears. You're then essentially left back to the resolution previous to that, which was one asking for consultation, which is a bit of, it's nonsensical because we've already done that. So hence I'd be saying we're actually in a void here. We need something else to replace it. What do you want us to replace it with?
Okay, but based on 4.1, receiving the submissions that were admitted from the process in the first place, 4.2, receiving the petition, then 4.3 with a suggestion from a community group, would that then not fill the void in helping us revisit if the resolution was revoked? I'm just trying to get my head around.
Through the chair.
I'm sorry, I'm just waiting for a response, thank you.
No, at that point I would still need a decision from you in terms of what you wanted me to do. So you've received that information, but in receiving that just sits on the table. I would then need or council would need a steer in terms of what do you then want us to do. And that could be that you ask us to do further plans. It could be that you say, let's just leave it at that. It could be, there's a whole lot of different options there for you to put forward.
Which the notice of motion doesn't.
Can we propose a new notice of motion?
Yeah,
Someone could, through Madam Chair, someone could either propose a new notice of motion if this motion was successful. Someone could propose a new notice of motion at that point to replace it with something. Alternatively, you could do an amendment to this notice of motion.
Could we
today?
So we could do an amendment?
Through the chair, that could be proposed, yes. There could be an altered notice of motion proposed, but I don't understand that's before the meeting at the moment.
Sure. If it assists through the chair, our intention in acknowledging Gareth Green's comments, that if this resolution is passed, that then leaves a void for the council in terms of direction. And it is our intention, if that motion is successfully revoked, to propose a new resolution for your consideration to assist in some direction from council.
I would like to propose a new motion. Can I do that?
You couldn't propose a new motion right now. You would have to deal with this first and then do that subsequently. What you could do is to pose an amendment to this notice of motion.
You just through the chair, I can't see how we can, to move a notice of motion and then leave a void, to me doesn't make sense. I mean, we've already received submissions without having to go back and look at that flawed process in the first place. So if this is accepted, then, and we have to go back after 2 years of what we've been through, would it be still to await? Could we ask that we still wait for that work to be done that we asked for in December? But I just don't understand. The decision on the books is for it to be closed and for work to be done, of which neither has been done because the work hasn't been done, so it's still status quo, and it could be 2 to 3 years and before that's done because of money and budgets and whatnot. This to me just, I'm just not sure where to take this, because if we're to pass this to leave a void, then we're going to sit here and have a back and forwards discussion again about what we want, and I don't think we could actually change the decision like that today.
So the notice of motion as it currently sits is to revoke that December resolution. So there would be a void unless you made a subsequent decision. My legal advice I was received was that you've actually got a mover and a seconder now of this, so you actually do need to consider this now before you go into an amendment.
I was just going to say, Madam Chair, it's been moved, it's been seconded. You've asked for speakers against. I think it should be put to the meeting.
Right.
Could the Chief Executive speak up? We can't hear anyone, we can hear everyone else.
We're just discussing. Yep. So would anyone else want to speak for or against the motion?
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. I suppose from where I'm sitting, if it was to revoke the decision because of process, because the 173 submissions were left out, then I could go with that because to me the process wasn't followed. But we've just received them and I know each and every one of us has read through them thoroughly. So as from where I'm sitting, I just think the information put to us from the council officers as well as from the community, I still feel that the right decision is to leave it as a reserve for people, not for cars. My son's also in a wheelchair, so I fully understand being able to get access to a reserve is really important, and I want that to be made clear when we do look at the revised design. But at this stage, we haven't seen it, and I think this has come too early. We need to see what that was, and then then we can give it. We haven't seen that yet. The community hasn't seen what that looks like, and it could be really wonderful. So that's what I would like to see.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to speak for the motion. It's my belief that with good planning and detailed planning, that the four items raised in the report by Mr. Carroll, being the management of the reserve so that it continues to meet its purpose of an Esplanade Reserve, provide a lakefront area for people to recreate in a variety of ways, to provide a safe environment where people can picnic, play, cycle, walk, and which activities are prioritised over vehicles, protect the vegetation on the reserve, and to continue to provide shade and amenity to protect the erosion. I think with good planning and detailed planning, all those things can be achieved.
Through the Chair, I'd like to speak in support of the resolution as well then, thank you. I believe that there's a flaw in the logic of officers in relation to the key points made about a conflict between the management plan and the district plan, with the management plan providing for vehicle access and the district plan requirement for vehicles to be kept away from trees. These plans are not mutually exclusive. You can do both at the same time without conflict. And the two plans are not at odds. We just need to find a means to protect the notable trees. And the plan that you saw from the Kinloch working group is an example of how that might work. And we see today that the opinion of the officers still remains the same even after the inclusion of the missing submissions. They state that in their opinion, closing the reserve to vehicles is the most efficient and effective way to achieve the objectives they have set out. I believe, and I also believe a lot of my fellow councillors, that these objectives can be achieved efficiently and effectively while keeping the reserve open to traffic. There's the will of the local people to keep the reserve open, as you've seen through an extensive consultation process and indeed with a petition, and there are viable options to address these issues. We can revoke the resolution from December, but we also do need to propose a way forward to staff, and right now they have no direction on this matter. And there's no point in doing nothing and going back to the drawing board. We've had 2 years of consultation under our belts, and we need to restore faith in this process that we've just been through. It's up to us as governance to show leadership and provide direction to the staff on the future of this reserve. And local democracy plays an integral role in how people feel about where they live. And we've seen this throughout the process. And this reserve is integral to how people feel about their lives in Kinloch. And frankly, we need to listen to them. Thank you. Through the chair, I'd like to speak against the motion. Look, I want to acknowledge that I believe it's embarrassing that 2 years on, we still haven't resolved this issue, and we're looking at going back and spending a whole lot more time on it. I also want to acknowledge that the people of Kinloch are passionate about this issue, and while I may not live there, I do understand passion. I'm very passionate about a lot of issues. And I also believe that democracy is important. But I think at times we have to have the courage to do what is right, not necessarily what is seen by the majority as being right. And I still believe that we have to protect the foreshore and the lake. And that is exactly where I come from, and I will be voting against this motion.
Councillor Cousins?
Through the chair, I just like to back up some of the councillors speaking for the resolution. I acknowledge what Councillor Truman has said about, I understand it, but Councillor Truman talking about wanting to spend quiet time with children on the foreshore, I understand that. But I hark back to when I stood to be a councillor, was to be a representative of the people. I'm a Tongariro Ward councillor first, but I'm a Taupo District Council first, a Tongariro Ward councillor as my underwriting role. But legislation tells us that we must consult with our people, and the one crucial issue for me has always been to listen to our people, because that's who I'm elected to represent. So you've got legislation there telling us we've got to consult, but we've got policy which sort of counteracts that. Well, we write policy, we can change policy, we can make whatever we want to happen for our people. So 234 submissions were submitted. 14 were against, wanted the chain put up and vehicles banned. The rest of them wanted the chain down. That's 6% wanted that chain up. That's overwhelming. The people at Kinloch have spoken. They've given us a way forward with a fantastic plan, which is still open for consultation. But I don't see how we cannot listen to these passionate people and say, let's cut their reserve off. To me, it doesn't make good governance. We are here for our people. They pay us to be here. I can only think that I have to support these people and my fellow councillors who wish to revoke this resolution and take that chain down.
Thank you. Anyone else want to talk for or against the motion? I just want to take a 1-minute recess, thank you. Right, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, I just need to take some advice. Right, we now have the motion. Sorry?
Can I ask just one clarifying question before you move on? Could I ask how the Environment Court might see the Kinloch plan? Would anybody have a view of that?
Probably Mr. Carroll's probably the best place to.
Could I just get some, sorry, can you hear me back there? Yes. Yeah. Could I just get some clarity around specifically what the question is?
Well, the plan that they have produced and where the cars are going to be and what's going to be on the reserve, if there was legal action taken, how do you think the Environment Court would view that?
The focus of the Environment Court would be on whether council is complying with the rules in its district plan.
Right.
And at the moment, the rules in the district plan are not being complied with. Now, what we've talked about over the last 2 years are various ways of achieving that compliance. The key thing is that vehicles are not intended to be within 4 metres of the base of the trunks of those notable trees. And as we've discussed, there are different ways of achieving that outcome. Yep. But of course, this matter is not just about that particular outcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we need to put the motion to the vote. So we have a mover and a seconder. So can I see a show of hands as to who is in favour of the motion, please? For the motion?
Oh, no, hang on.
Sorry? For the motion?
Is what you asked?
Yes? To revoke.
So just to clarify,
Sorry, clarification here, please.
To clarify, this is the motion
To revoke
the 13th of December 2016 resolution.
Okay, and you're going to move, who's the mover and the seconder? Please clarify again.
Councillor Williamson moved.
So point of order, Mr Green, I'm just getting really confused. We still have a resolution. This is asking to revoke a resolution where we've asked officers to go away and do some work, and we still haven't received that back.
Correct.
So you're asking us to revoke a resolution that we still haven't fully seen the extent and design and work of. So how can you do that? I don't understand.
I'm not asking you to do anything, that's up to you. But what you've got at the moment is a resolution, absolutely, a resolution sitting on the books asking officers to do some work and bring that back, but to close the reserve to vehicle traffic. The notice of motion that you've got on the table at the moment is to revoke that resolution. You've got a mover in Councillor Williamson and a seconder in Councillor Hickling. That has been put and moved and seconded. You now need to take a vote on that. So
we'd like to hear you.
Okay, well,
But let's put the motion to vote, please.
there's not enough information in this notice of motion, so I'll be voting against.
vote, show of hands. Show of hands.
Do we need to explain what it's trying to say?
There's enough information to vote to block it initially.
Voted to block it without any information.
Okay.
Can I just have some clarification, Gareth, please? It's my opinion that, it's my opinion that we have to rescind or accept this notice of motion before we can put a new notice of motion or a new resolution to the council. Is that process?
Yep.
Yes, you do now, because it's been moved and seconded. If it hadn't been moved and seconded, you could have done an amendment to the...
An amendment, okay.
But for a new one, absolutely, this has to be determined. And the only way you could put a new motion, which is contrary to the previous one, is for this to pass.
Sure. Okay, well, let's vote.
What you're voting on right now is whether or not to revoke that previous resolution. If this was successful, so the resolution was revoked, then you would need to then decide what you do. If it's unsuccessful, the matter ends there, and that December resolution stands.
Okay.
For those of us who want we need to have a Would the councillors like to have a recess altogether?
No, just vote. Let's get on with it, please.
Would some of the councillors like to have a recess? No. I'm just wondering because some may be confused. I'm being honest. Right, okay. Who is in favour of the motion to rescind the vote? 4. Who is against? And I don't know.
So you have the casting vote, Madam Chair.
Come on, Rosie, vote for the community. Vote for the community for a change.
It's not for a change. I've always voted for the community.
Inappropriate.
I know what I want to do.
We can start again, Rosie, if you revoke.
What do I do?
It's your vote.
I know.
Yes, for this.
Thank you. I do take this seriously. We're just seeking some advice, so sorry about the delay.
Excuse me, Rosie. We've done a lot of work together. Can we be party to the conversations that you're having up there?
No, because it's a legal matter and I just need to seek advice for myself. But thank you, John.
Thank you.
Obviously it's very important, which is why I want to get it right. Okay?
Through the chair, would I be mistaken that if you don't vote, it's 4-4, it will just revert to status quo?
It's, yeah.
Yes.
It's not a matter of whether I'm just deciding what I need to do. Right, back again. Okay. Where were we?
So, Madam Chair, at the moment we're on
a sense of humour, people.
We've gone to the vote. It's 4-all at this point by my calculations, waiting for your vote, Madam Chair.
And I vote to revoke.
Thank you.
It's not an easy decision, but I immediately propose a new motion. And what I would like to do is to ask our council officers to come back to us as council with plans, please, with the acknowledging the work that the Kinloch Working Group have done with their plan, to come back to us with their assessment of that. And I would also like the assessment of the original plan that we passed in December, so that we can look over both of those in a logical and measured manner, so that we as councillors can just take a breath, take a breather, take everything into consideration with what we've actually looked at, and just go through it all calmly and carefully and make sure we do it thoroughly and get it right. That's what I would like to do. Do I have a mover for that?
You're the mover.
Oh, rightio.
So the words would have to be something, if I'm hearing you right, Madam Chair, the words would have to be something around you move for officers to bring back a assessment of the Kinloch Action Group plan, including costings and how it will be funded, alongside a plan of the reserve without cars and improvements, along with costings, for future consideration. Would that be? Is that what you're saying?
Without cars? With and without.
I think what I'm hearing from the chairman is she wants both plans done.
Yeah, I want the plan.
No.
The plan that the working group have presented.
Yes.
Costed and done correctly.
Yes.
And so that we can see and cost it out and see how it would work. And the other plan that we had with the parking, etc. And yes, which we have not seen, which Councillor Park mentioned, we have no idea of the costings, so we can look over both properly and do a proper workshop, etc. Maybe go out for consultation, whether that's necessary, I don't know.
So you're suggesting that we have one plan with cars on there, one without, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I don't understand the point.
No, could I just make a suggestion, Madam Chair, that we resolve,
No, you've got a mover.
Oh, I've got a mover, yes, sorry. Do I have a second?
Can I ask something? Can you put a time frame on it?
Yes.
Because it's gone on and on and on, and
Yep,
both parties deserve a rapid resolve.
Yep, I'd like to see the plans and the drawings back with, what's a sensible time frame?
Next meeting.
Probably,
Dennis is going to do a whole lot of work.
yeah, so I'll say March council meeting.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Good. We can make a decision. Do we need to consult?
Probably. decision and consultation if required.
So it could be done by...
Could be April, not here March.
Be done by, we have an answer by what?
How long that consultation is, I couldn't go that far forward, but we'd get the information to you as fast as we can, probably March or April.
Yeah. So further consultation. We want to get it right, okay? That's what we're saying. We want to make sure we get it right and that everyone is comfortable with it. That's what I want, and I'm sure that's what the councillors want. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Moved up. Do you have a seconder?
Do I have a seconder?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favour?
First, anyone
Right,
to speak
sorry,
for
anyone would like to
or
speak to it or against it?
I'd like just to speak against it in part. I completely agree with you, Madam Chairman, that we need to get some resolution on this that's agreeable to all parties, but I think we need to give council officers a steer, so I would prefer that the resolution says that the Lakefront Reserve remains open for vehicles and that we do take into account and direct officers to do a detailed design based on the key concepts from the Kinloch working group that include that sand replenishment, provide protection for the trees and preserve the amenity value of that reserve, but also allow for parking on the reserve in the Esplanade. So I would like us to be able to give the staff a clearer direction and a signal to the community of our intentions rather than a foot in either camp.
The working group's drawings do account for that, I believe. So I think we do have I have made a motion, so can we...
Anyone else want to speak?
Anyone else want to speak?
My God.
Through the chair, I'd speak against it as well. We're just seeing that confusing messages still. We need to be strong and just move forward with this. I'm not saying that the Kinloch plan that's been given to us is necessarily the correct one, but it's certainly got some ideal elements in there that we should be working with. So I can't agree with your entire resolution.
Well, I'm looking to the community to decide, as you have.
Madam Chair, we've just passed a motion.
Speak up.
We've just passed a motion which said agrees to close the reserve to vehicles. We've just passed to revoke that. So why within your suggested resolution do we need to take officers' time to actually prepare a plan showing the no vehicles on that particular reserve? I think that's a bit of a waste of time personally. Let's go with the Kinloch community plan. Let our landscape architect have a really good detailed look at it and come back with a good design, perhaps with some minor element changes, and just deal with that. That's what the community want. That's what they've told us they want. I can't see the point in spending officer time looking at two alternative plans.
Councillor Park?
Yes, thank you. I would support the chair in her and what she said. Basically, the only reason I voted against the notice of motion is because it left a void. There was nothing to that. And also because the resolution passed in December, we have not seen the final work that officers were instructed to go away and do. So the decision made to revoke it has actually been done in a flawed process, just the way we passed the resolution with the missing 173 submissions. So I think this is a good compromise and way forward myself.
Can I? Oh, sorry, Councillor Truman.
Yeah, so I too think that this is a good way forward. I think it gives the opportunity. Councillor Hickling talked about this is what the community wants, this is what one part of the community wants, and there definitely is a strong voice for the other part of the community as well that we've seen in submissions. So what I'm saying is I do believe that this is a way that both sides can have their say.
Through the chair. As much as it pains me to disagree with Councillor Truman, I have to support fellow councillors Jolins and Hickling and Cousins. The fact we've been through 2 rounds of consultation, so I think we're going to sort of really get a bit tiresome. We're going up to consult about an option of cars being on there as well. So
And in support of Councillor Williamson, staff have already indicated that they still believe the reserve should be closed to vehicles even after the inclusion of the missing submissions. So I think it's beholden to us to give them some direction, which is to keep the reserve open to vehicles.
And just reiterate, Mr. Chairman. Just reiterate, Mr. Chairman, is that I understanding and to respect to Councillor Truman that we have consulted and we're talking to our community. They've spoken. It's 6% versus 94%. It can't be any clearer. Going out for consultation is just muddying waters for no reason. We need to be strong, and good God, I'm tired of it. I'm tired. Let's just move on now.
You don't think I'm tired? I understand and I take on board all of those comments, but this has been a bit of a protracted process, but let's make sure we've got it right. And if it takes a little bit longer, so be it. That's my view. So I feel that we might as well just get it absolutely right. Thank you to the working group for all of their hard work, and we will certainly take what we can and put those drawings to good use and get the council officers to work with them. Sorry, who wanted?
Sorry, Councillor, can you, as the second, I guess the second to last speaker.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, thank you for that, Madam Chair. I just wanted to speak in support of your recommended resolution. I think as a new councillor to this table, I hear what the other councillors are saying. I wasn't around the last round, and I'm seeing what I'm seeing at the moment. There is 6% of people that are in support of the initial decision. Those 6% of people matter as well. We sit here on behalf of everybody, not just the majority. So I think for the sake of time, in terms of actually, for me as a new councillor sitting here to be able to see that the decision we make is the right decision and I'm comfortable within my own skin, then I think it's okay to take a bit more time. I appreciate this has been around the jungle for a wee while, but a little while longer is not going to make a hell of a lot of difference considering how much public opinion there is over this decision, so we have to get it right. So I speak in support.
Okay, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour?
Can we read the resolution out again, please?
That staff bring back an assessment of the Kinloch Action Group plan, costings and funding, alongside a plan of the reserve without cars, improvements and costings to the March, and I've got /April meeting, council meeting.
Yep, sounds, yep. All those in favour? Raise your hands. Against? Carried.